Welcome to the Sacred Geometry of Consciousness. For more than 33 years, your show hosts, Gregory and Gail Hogue, have been internationally known leaders in creating sacred geometric tools for expanding loving consciousness and well-being. Listen in now as they share practical applications of sacred geometry in everyday life.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us. One of the best ways to quiet your conscious mind and allow higher self to come through is meditation. Well, meditation can take many different forms. It's not some mystical thing, and it's not something that you need years and years of practice in order to become proficient at. Meditation can be something that you do sitting in a chair, in a quiet space. It can be something that you can do lying down in the morning or the evening while you're reclining in a bed. It can also be something that can be done in movement, in walking, or even dancing. It is accessing that higher connection and enabling yourself to quiet the mind and be more aware of all of what is around you. So, for instance, the first way that I started to learn about meditation was not actually through a teacher. It was from my experience as an artist. And what I knew was important in order to do my work was to go into that blank null zone, that quiet zone, and be able to reach into my intuitive capabilities, my connections with my higher consciousness, with my creative self, with Creator, and to be aware of so much more than what I normally would be aware of in my waking state. So I began to create my own ritual, and it really began with the basics of meditation, which are to find a quiet place, a place where you won't be disturbed, and a comfortable, or a sort of comfortable at least position, so that you can be able to go beyond distractions. And in a gentle way, working with breath, following the breath, allowing the breath to lead you into a place of deeper relaxation. As you do that, the brain waves start relaxing. And so there's a physiological, neurological shift that happens. And it's not only relaxing, but it's rejuvenating for your body. And so for me, in my painting studio, I would sit. And at the beginning, like most people who begin meditation practice, it's very easy to see that the mind is going to go off in different little pathways. Well, that's okay. Let the mind have its moment. But if you notice it without judgment, then you can just allow it to travel away and come back into breath, back into being centered and connected, and allowing yourself to be in that deeper relaxation experience. There are people these days with all the electronics and everything, all the gadgets and everything that goes on in our lives. It's overwhelming, and it's so important to be able to go into those deeply relaxed and quiet zones. And so some people find that listening to music is helpful. I know that there are apps on a phone that you can download that would help you relax. and move into meditation. Meditation can also teach you things. People lead guided meditations or visualizations so that you can actually use that quiet time to go beyond what your normal waking consciousness is giving you. So, whenever you're in a shifting period in your life, meditation is particularly important. Now, meditation is also something that becomes more and more useful as it is part of your discipline. If you meditate even just for 15 to 20 minutes or whatever time you have in the morning and the evening, it becomes a ritual. It becomes an opportunity to guide your life into more of a compassionate and conscious path. It also has a wonderful effect physiologically. Things like blood pressure can be reduced by meditating on a regular basis. Your body becomes receptive of something very wonderful that's happening, and meditation is a practice. So the more you practice, the better you get at it.
Really, I've started meditating over 50 years ago now and have worked with many different masters, gurus in the early days, Indian gurus that were teaching meditation, sometimes through mantras that I repeat over and over inside my head. Some masters had me put my fingers in my ears and listen to the sound current inside, which developed stronger over time. When I went through a lot of Kundalini in the late 70s, I had a healer who was very intuitive have me take the forms that I was building at that time, because I was building sacred geometric forms, and he would have me spin them in my head and listen to them. And they moved in different frequencies, and I could hear different melodies played by different geometries. And he would have me move the energy through my body. One day I was sitting in his office and his cat was sitting on my lap. And as I said that, our dog just came into the room to find where we were so she could be with us. Because she likes to be with us when we're in this space of connection, which is what happens with meditation, which is what happens all the time now. And that's really the purpose of meditation, is connection. But to finish my story with when I was sitting there in his office with the cat on my lap, he asked me to move the energy from one side of my brain to the other, to connect them. And then he said, now move it down to your solar plexus. And as I did that, the cat screamed and leapt off my lap. He went about 10 feet and ran out of the room. And my teacher, I guess, who was there in the room said, well, I guess you did it. You really moved that energy. And you see, that's what starts happening. The more we work with these different meditations, we begin to connect more and more to spirit, which is the purpose of these 12 steps. How do we allow spirit into our life? And with meditation, it becomes something that is much more than just a ritual that you do in the morning for so many minutes, sitting quietly, and in the evening for so many minutes. It's a shift in consciousness. It's a shift in awareness that allows you to be carrying that connection of spirit with you in a quote-unquote meditative state all the time. In essence, you don't ever have to leave that state of connection. There is so much in the world that is wanting to pull us out all the time. I'm talking about all the things we listen to, the negative thoughts going on, all the news, all the different fears, all the different difficulties, the daily challenges going on in our life that want to break that connection, which is why it is imperative that we hold on to that connection. And it's one of the reasons we've built tools to help people move out of the space of being victimized by negative energies, negative thoughts, toxins, EMFs, the electromagnetic frequencies, what's going on with 5G, all these different things in our environment are making it more and more difficult to feel the natural rhythms of the earth, the natural rhythms that want to flow through us. We can create those natural rhythms through different sacred geometric tools. Sometimes we create them through different crystals we carry with us that hold a frequency, that sometimes are a reminder, a simple reminder of putting our hand over our heart reminds us to move back into the heart center and then approach the next thing that we're faced with a clearer, more connected vision. In the bottom line essence of everything, thinking is overrated. The brain is not really capable of taking in all the elements necessary to come up with the correct answer, in spite of the fact that science tells us it is taking in tens of thousands of bits of information every second and trying to organize it and prioritize it and working with it. I've often seen when I sit quietly, my mind tries to distract me with something absurd, just trying to pull me out, like building a ladder out of cooked spaghetti. And I would go, oh my God, this is totally absurd. You're playing with me. Ego is playing with me. I don't need to be played with. Leave me alone. Go. And so I learned that mind often plays tricks. Ego often plays tricks. And I don't need to listen to them. There's more I want to say, but I know Gail's wanting to jump in here. So let's go back and forth a bit. I love you.
Okay. Alrighty. So let's talk a little bit about ego. Ego is not a negative thing, but it's an aspect of who we are that sometimes gets a little carried away with itself. In order to create that balance, that coherence, that fullness of who we are, sometimes it's very important to say no to the ego and say, okay, we're going to give you a little time out. We need some quiet time here because, as Gregory was just talking about, so much is coming in to the brain. And in order to synthesize it, in order to make sense out of it, in order to be able to put it in the right perspective for our lives, we need to take breaks. Just like taking a vacation is so rejuvenating. It brings us to a place of understanding, a greater understanding, a newness, a freshness. And so meditation can give us that quality of freshness. And for me, meditation is so wonderful when I sit underneath of one of the geometries that we have, that Greg and I have been meditating under, a geometry called the Merkaba of Oneness. When I sit quietly under that construction, that form, something really wonderful happens. It's a physical feeling as well as an energetic feeling. My body gets very relaxed. When I drop into a deep meditative state, it's a feeling that's ecstatic. It's going beyond what normally I'm aware of. And not only is it a physiological and energetic experience, it helps me open the heart. It helps me open my consciousness, my awareness, so that I am so much more than what I was in my regular operational state. And the geometries are so important, and that's why we talk about our heart companion and our eye connect, because it's building a field. The field that we're generally operating in is a field of tremendous distraction, and the geometry brings coherence and form into our lives, into our environment. At that juncture, we have more capability to relax, to be creative, to explore the unknown, to be able to connect with intuition. And so for me, meditation opened up. When I started meditating, I knew that I was an intuitive person before I started meditating. When I was working with meditation in a more disciplined fashion, it gave me the ability to access my intuition, not just whenever my intuition wanted to show up, but as an operational part of me that I could call on at any time. So, disciplined meditation, and when I say disciplined, I'm just saying it becomes an important part of your schedule, of your life, and you just give it that credence. You give it that time and space. You don't have to go away on a retreat. But in doing meditation, it gives me the cues that at any given time, I can go into that quiet zone and I can access the connections. I can access the higher self. I can be more aware of my intuitive capabilities. I can also use it for compassion. If there's something going on in my life and I'm getting a little torqued up over something, then it helps guide me into coming back into center, into the place of recognizing that it's time to take that deep breath again, follow what's more important, reset, reboot, and go into another space.
I often will walk in to our bedroom where we meditate, and Gail is sitting there meditating, and she has the sweetest Mona Lisa smile on her face. That's the space that we're in. It's such a luscious space that it just brings that smile out. And to hold that space all the time, 24/7. I think some of you may have heard some earlier talks on this station that we've given where I talked about being able to meditate during my dreams, which I did about 35 years ago or so, 40 years ago. I learned to meditate during my dream state, and that's when my whole reality started to really shift, when I realized there can be a constant state of meditation. And meditation isn't just trying to follow your breath. That's where you often start because the mind wants to bug us so much, like I said earlier, that you give it something to do. This story, one meditation teacher shared with me once, was it's like a genie that you let out of the bottle, the mind, and it's constantly asking for things to do. And if you don't give it things to do, it's going to eat you alive, literally. So finally, you come upon the solution of you have the genie manifest a rope and climb to the top of the rope. And when the genie gets to the top of the rope, have him climb to the bottom of the rope. And when he gets to the bottom of the rope, have him climb to the top of the rope, and just keep going like that. Eventually, that absorbs the genie, that absorbs the mind, and the breath consumes the mind, so it simply goes up and down. And for me, when I get involved with breath and meditation, I start feeling it moving in and out of different parts of my body. I love to breathe in and out of my heart and feel that that's where the energy is going in and coming out, and then sending love to everyone that needs love, to sending love to parts of the world that are in need. It's just to expand that connection and share that connection with others. And the more I share it, the more I receive it, and the more I am supported. And something I was saying a little bit ago is that the mind is overrated, the thinking mind, the gray matter in our heads, because it's a finite piece of tissue. It's a finite bit of information that we can work with from there. But when I'm in that state of meditation, that's what I really love about it, is its creativity. And the creativity isn't coming from within me, it's coming from the universe through me. That's what I think every great artist is drawn to, is that fix of feeling infinite creative possibility moving through a body that is open to being used for the good of all, a body that is open to being thrilled by the vibrations and the information that the universe holds. All the things that we create, the tools that we create for all of you, they aren't created from a place of us sitting down and going, oh, okay, what are we going to do? Let's read up on what kinds of things we need to incorporate and how we're supposed to do it and this and that. It's always inspiration, which means it's coming in from spirit and it's filling us. And we simply follow spirit's direction. Should we be doing this? Should we be doing that? Often some of the strongest things we've done, Gail has come in and said, Spirit is asking us to create something new, to create something that will do this and that. And sometimes then it goes on to, well, how do we do it? What do we use? How do we make things? You see, Spirit is so wonderful in the way it respects our creative process. So we have the joy of creating, just the way a small child is playing with toys and having the joy of creating with those toys. You don't want to go in as a big person and say, hey, I understand Lincoln Logs because I used them 50 years ago, or I understand how to color. Let me do that for you. I can do a better job. No, it's always the joy of discovery. And meditation is the opening to that discovery, is the allowing of that vibration to come through. And that's why we love to do the creative bit here, and we can't stop it because it's always such a wonderful experience. And meditation is key to that experience. And not just saying, oh, I meditate all the time, but we found we need to be formally sitting down and respecting that space and respecting my body and timing to be quiet and to be still. And I love the places I sail into with no thought, just simply beingness. A beingness of light, a beingness of love, a beingness where everything is okay.
And that is a magical way of working with meditation. And another way that I enjoy, because we live out in the country and we have a river that runs near our home. Going out in nature and walking and just absorbing the energy of nature, listening deeply to the sound of the river, walking and feeling the brushing of the grasses underneath my feet, feeling the sun, feeling the wind against my skin. That is another meditation. It's a walking meditation where you might also enjoy finding that special place where you go out and you let go of whatever has been absorbing your attention, and you flow with what is. You just engage in the otherness, in the magic of what universe is offering to you. So the actual rhythm of walking or even dancing, I find that dancing is a wonderful meditative practice. As my body is in motion, it's connecting with the flows of the energy of the physical world and my spirit. And so those are awesome ways to incorporate meditation as an experience where, again, the key is the quietness of your conscious mind, of the monkey mind, and then allowing the creative spirit to come in and be fully connected and embraced in a loving and co-creative experience.
So we love meditation and we love sharing with you. Thank you and
And
blessings.
blessings.